Hey guys, it's Bill from Linden, Tennessee. So, back with an update video. I am feeling much better. My mental state for this whole project. Man, I was kind of down in the dumps there for a little while. It happens. But just a lot of stuff sort of transpired all at once, and it was just taxing. But Tesla did extraordinarily good today, so that's got me in pretty good spirits. If you're a shareholder, then you know what I'm saying. If you're not a shareholder, you probably wish you were, and my condolences. Anyway, power steering is the word. Last time I told you that I'm going to, and today I'm going to tell you that I have. Let me back up a little bit, literally backing up. Okay, so we're going to climb up in here, and hopefully I don't fall. If I do, this will become viral. That's not so bad. I'm not really watching the screen right now, so I don't know what you're seeing. Okay, here we go. We are inside the Jeep. So, we got the power steering installed, and man, look at that. Look how that sucker just fits in there. Jeep, you did a great job of bending those lines right around where that thing needs to be. That little tray that's over there that used to have the power steering pump, it's not in the way. I had to kind of relocate my brake booster vacuum switch. It was a little bit interfering, but otherwise, man, the only thing I had to do, well, I say that, is make that little bracket right there, and that just kind of goes up and bolts to where the original mounting point was for this thing. But it wasn't all quite that easy. I spent a whole bunch of time just kind of staring at this thing. I put this unit in there, just sort of sitting there, balancing and kind of looking and see how in the hell I do this. And the way I ended up doing it was kind of complicated, actually. It all went together pretty easy, but it took some thought. I got an intermediate shaft off of eBay for a Jeep. So that basically goes from this U-joint up to the U-joint that's attached to the steering column. And then it's got a slip joint in the middle of it, kind of like this right here. So it's got a slip joint about right here. And I just kind of hacked off. How did I do this? So this U-joint right here. Okay, back up. So I did that. I ended up not using this U-joint. This is the U-joint that I also got off of eBay. This is the U-joint from the intermediate shaft of the power steering pump. And this little dude, this little part right there, what my finger is on, is the only part of the bottom half of the Jeep intermediate shaft that I used, and it's only to right there. So I mean, it's literally a 1 inch long section of it. In order to weld this together and make sure that it's straight, I had to put the 4-jaw chuck on my lathe, which, heck yeah, I got to use my lathe. So it's not too often that you can. It's very small and it's a little bit limited in its abilities, but in this case, it was great. So anyway, faced that off, got it square. This was already like this from the factory. No, it wasn't. This was much longer. And the way I got this squared off and faced off was I put this part in the part that's cut off, put that part in the chuck, put the live center in the end of this U-joint right there, and that kept everything sort of straight. And then I went ahead and used the parting tool to just chop that off. So that's square, and that's square, and I just kind of swagged, scientific wild ass guess at what length that needs to be. Kind of scientific, kind of not, I don't know. I spent a lot of time with this thing just sort of sitting here balanced, looking at how it's going to work, and it just kind of worked that way. On the other end of this, I'm going to get out of here in a minute, and we'll kind of crawl up under there, see if we can't see something. But sort of the same thing on the end of this shaft is splined. It's splined, and that's where the collapsible part of the Prius steering column is, and it had a threaded on the end so that you could bolt the steering wheel to that part. Well, I cut that threaded end off, retained those splines, and welded those splines to the Jeep U-joint that bolts to the other end of the steering column. So, if you're not already confused, I don't know. It's just one of them things that you can't measure any of this stuff. There's you can get a rough idea of basically how long this part needs to be cut off too, and hope that you're right. But yeah, so let's go inside. Maybe you'll be able to see this. I hope so. So, where are we at? Where is it? Oh, there it is. Yeah. So there you go. That shiny part with the weld on there, that's actually the part that I had to cut off the end of this where this U-joint is. That's the GPU joint, and then that's the bottom of the GPU joint where it's welded to the top of that splined part that was in the Prius. So yeah, I don't know how else to explain this to you. Anyway, I did it, and it works, and it's going to be good. So yeah, so that's all together, and everything's kind of lined up. There's no way that I got the U-joints phased 100%. I got them phased pretty close, and so what I'll do is I'll just have the steering wheel straight, and I should be able to adjust out any alignment issues through the steering linkages. So that's what I've been doing, and man, I just gotta, like, I just can't believe how good this fit. Like, this is just my vacuum hose, and it just fits right under there. There's no interference with the booster. There's just no interference. It just fit like it's supposed to be there. It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, that got my spirits up too, because when things don't work, it makes your spirits go down. When things do work like that, that just really is a boost. The one thing I haven't been able to do is test this stinking thing, because on the end of the power steering system, it's got two wires coming, or it's got two sets of wires coming out of the motor. It's got the power to the motor, and then it's also got a sensor, so a torque sensor. And what this did not come with was the power that goes into this box and the other connector that would normally go into the CAN bus, but it's also the 12 volt turn on thing, 12 volt turn on wire for this controller. That's the controller for the power steering system. So it didn't come up with that, and I'm trying to get back in touch with the guy that I bought this thing from, because this is still on the car, whether he still has the car or not, I don't know. I got this off of eBay. What I was hoping is that I could just get me a big old fat spade connector, but that's really big. That's really big. It needs a pretty good size wire. I think this is a 350 watt motor, so theoretically 350 watts at 12 volts would only be 30 amps. Yeah, 30 amps. So I mean, it needs to be a pretty significant wire, at least 10 gauge. So I don't know, but that's what that is. So yeah, so once I find that, then I'll figure out a place to mount that. That's not weatherized, so I really need to mount that out of the elements somewhere, somehow, or maybe I could mount it, back here somewhere and just make a protective box for it. Yeah, that's probably how I'm going to do that. And then just make a box that'll cover it from getting rained on or water or something. Otherwise, the next thing I'm working on is this stinking charger. So I think I showed you last time I had the cover off, and the charger, the DCDC is murdered. It's no good. I got back with Ovar Technologies. Frank at Ovar Technologies is really good with replying to emails, but basically the gist of the conversation was, can you fix it yourself, is what he told me. And I'm like, well, I don't know what's broken on it. And he's like, well, you can see the part that's blown out. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't know what that is. It needs a whole new board. Where do I get that? And they're like, well, we are the only ones that have those. Right. So then he said maybe I could take it to an electrical technician and they could figure it out. Not going to happen. That's ridiculous. So I got two choices. I can just leave it there as a water-cooled 6.6 kilowatt charger, which is kind of nice. I don't mind that so much. But this thing isn't in any way controllable through CAN. Like the Orion should be able to talk to this. And I even talked to Orion today, and they said that the Orion should be able to talk to this thing, but I don't know. It's not. Maybe I've got the CAN speed wrong. I don't know. But the problem is that the only way to stop the charge is for the Orion to basically disconnect power from the line coming in from the J1772, which is fine. but it's kind of barbaric. if I could use a weird word for that, it's just kind of barbaric, and I would rather do it like smooth or like within the charger itself. So I'm also talking to him now about using one of these guys. Just get rid of the Ovar technology altogether. This is a Brusa charger. This is actually the one that was on the Ranger. I've got another one that's cleaner that I'm going to try and fit. The dimensions of this thing are basically the same. It's a little bit narrower and a little bit shorter left to right as you're looking at it. So I think it's going to even fit in the same spot and not interfere with my battery box. Oh yeah, speaking of battery box, how do I know that it's not going to hit the battery box? I don't, but I'm pretty sure. Because well, I've now worn it away, but there used to be I scribed a little chalk line right there, and there's a chalk line right there, and yeah, I think it's going to probably fit. I hope so. I'll be upset again, but yeah, so I'm going to try and think about making a mount for this thing and put it in there in place of that. And it's nice because it's air cooled, and I know it's tough, and it should be can controlled, but if it's not can controlled, I can control it. I can program it to have a charge voltage disconnect, and it'll shut off on itself all by itself, and you know, that's better. So, and then have a backup system on there, Ryan, to turn off the power going in from the J1772. Anyway, I am running out of time because I can't figure out how to make this video go onto the external little SIM card, or the little SD card that's inside the internal SIM card. It's just keeping it on the internal memory, and I don't have very much. So without any ado, I'm going to end this short. So thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.